Hello explorers and welcome to another video. Today we're going to talk about biometrics or fingerprint scanning in order to unlock something in your program. And what I'm going to show today is how to encrypt something and decrypt something when you are showing the program your fingerprint. And the new way that Android does fingerprint scanning is actually that you can encrypt something with your public key and the private key is locked down until you show the phone your finger. And when you show it the finger and you scan the finger in, you can actually read the private key and therefore decrypt your data. So in order to get started here, we need to tell Android that we want to use the biometrics system. So we need to add that permission. And next up, we need to encrypt some stuff. So this is my encrypt key biometric. So I have a key inside of this application. This is my Squirrel application. So I have a key that encrypts everything, my identity, and that key in turn, I want to encrypt that key so I can reuse it faster the next time I want to authenticate. And in order to encrypt that key, I will go in here and check first off that we are running P or later of Android, so Android Pie or later, because this feature will not be available in earlier versions. And then I will create a key here. It will be in the Android key store. It will be an RSA key. And then I want to create a key pair here with this key pair generator. This key pair will be generated by this key pair spec builder. And I will set a key store alias for this. And I call that quick pass. And that's important when I want to get the private key later on to decrypt the data. I need to know where to find this in my store. And then I have this proposed encrypt and proposed decrypt. So I will use purpose encrypt and purpose decrypt. So that's what purposes I want to use this. You can also use it to sign stuff and one more of the, I believe, let's see, purpose, sign and verify, and you can also wrap a key. So you have a few options there. And then we have this all algorithm spec, and I say here that I want 248 bits size of my key, and I want to use F4. And you have F0 and F4, and those are two constants that you can use in order to generate your key. And F4 is used by OpenSSL, and I don't really know what these constants are for. If you have any idea why you want to use 65,037 instead of 3, then go ahead, please tell me. But as OpenSSL is using F4, I believe that is good enough for me. Then I want to set my block mode. So I will do the block mode CBC, and that's how you want to cut up your blocks and how you want to do error checking of those. And then I want to set some padding. So if the block is not full, if I get a too short block, I want to pad it with something so the encryption algorithm actually works. So this is how you set up that kind of thing. And then we set up some digests, and these are to see that the key is the same key everywhere. So you can check these digests to see that the key pair is the same. Might not be required in this specific usage because we will not look at these digests, but I create some anyway. And then we have this user authentication required. And this is the truly important thing here, because if you say that the user authentication is required, you need to show it your fingerprint or any other verification before you can actually use this key. So that's the important part here. And you can actually set a validity in a duration in seconds. And I tried this because I have a function in my program where I set a valid key for about 15 minutes. And then I have a manual function or a service that looks for this key and actually removes it after 15 minutes. So I wanted to use this built-in feature, but this user authentication validity duration in second is actually looking on when you unlocked the screen. So you have set timeout since you unlocked the screen. And that's not what I wanted to use here. And as you see, there is a lot of other functions here that you can try and use in your use cases. And these are the parameters that are required for my specific use case. I want to only allow decryption of my key if I have shown the biometric sensor my finger, or if I have unlocked the key store in some way. So I build this, and then I will generate a key pair here, and I will create a cipher, and that cipher is an RSA, ECB, and with the padding. So this is just to create a key pair out of the function, the settings that we had up here. And then I will encrypt using my public key, and I will set this biometric encrypted key to the final result of that encryption. So this function you have here will take a key that I use to decrypt my identity when I use it in my program, and encrypt the master key that I need to actually decrypt my key store. And that master key I will then encrypt, in this case, with my biometric key, and store in this little squirrel storage, so I can decrypt it with my fingerprint later on. So let's go in and see how this fingerprint sensor is working. So first off, I have a lot of things that happens up here, but let's just say that in my case, I have a program where I scan a QR code, and then I will either acknowledge my authenticate by either password, or in this case by fingerprint. So I will show the password dialog up here, and down here, if I have Android P, and if I have actually stored a biometric key before, I will go in here and I will create a biometric authentication callback. And this callback will take a function or a lambda. And this lambda is not important for this explanation. It's what's gonna happen when I'm done and I have actually decrypted the key. So this is not important for this to show in this video. And then I have my biometric prompt here. So I will create one of those, and it needs this context. I will set a title. So you have a title, you have a subtitle, you have a description that you need to supply in order to draw this window that you might have seen if you have used your biometric key or your fingerprint in other applications. And then you will get a window with a title, a subtitle which is not bold, and then a longer description. So these are set up here. Then I need to have a negative button if I don't want to actually use my fingerprint. I want to get out in some way, and it requires an executor and dialog and interface if it actually is clicked. And in this case, I say that don't do anything if you just click this button. It will actually close the dialog or this pop-up. So I don't need to do that. and I don't really want to do anything else, because the rest of the GUI underneath this pop-up will actually handle the use case for when you're not entering your biometric key. And the same is for this cancellation signal. If I get the signal that the actual biometric key printing, fingerprinting is cancelled, I don't want to do anything at all there either. So then I will fetch my key store. I will load the key store here. I will fetch the key entry of key pass. So that's the name we said before. I will not have any params over here. Then I will create a decryption cipher with the same kind before. So it's an RSA, ECB, and the same padding. And this cipher, I will initialize this with decryption mode and the private key. And just to be very specific here, you get a link to that key, but you're not allowed to use that key. So you don't get the key material, you can't read the key, you can't use the key, because you have not authenticated yet with your fingerprint. But you can create a decryption cipher. And the problem I had before, when I said this validity in seconds, duration in seconds, was that here it actually told me that I can't create a cipher because it had been too long of a time since I unlocked my phone. So I had to remove that in order to actually be able to initialize this cipher here. And then I will do this biometric prompt authenticate. And here I will create a crypto object with this DEX cipher. So this crypto object can have a lot of different things in it. You can create it by a key and some other things. But this is the crypto object that you will get when you actually have authenticated inside of your callback. And then I will set a call sign, cancel sign, so that's what I prepared earlier, what executor I want to use, and the biometric callback. So let's look at this biometric callback, this bio authentication callback. And it has a lot of different functions, and when I create this, I will set this runnable, what I want to do when it's done. So this I will set in the constructor of this callback. And if I get an error, then I want the system to do this standard error handling for that. If I get a help action, I want to do the same as the system for help. So I don't actually trigger anything specific on these calls. But on a success, I want to do the standard things for a success. But then I want to get this crypto object of the result. So here I have a cipher that I can actually use to decrypt my key, because in this case I am in a state where this key is usable. And then we have this on failed down here, so I do the same as failed. And if everything goes well, I will start a new thread with this done callback. So let's look into this decryption key biometric. And it's very simple, because when I get the cipher here, I can just take this biometric encrypted key and do a final on that, and that will get the key that I had before, my master key, that I then can use to decrypt my identity key, my internal function here. I can give it this key to actually decrypt my master identity, and I can use it. So this is what's required to use biometric key scanning or biometric fingerprint scanning in order to encrypt some data using your public key, and then have this private key that is unusable and locked until you verify that you are logged into the system. by either showing your fingerprint, or you can and choose a different method to authenticate as well. So this is what I wanted to go through today. I hope you found this interesting. I hope that you like this video. Give it a like, share it with your friends and colleagues. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please do that. If you have any questions, suggestions, or anything like that, please leave them down in the comment section down below. And I really hope to see you in the next video. So the video is done, and if you're just here for content and want to learn something, then you can go away now and don't listen more. This is a rant of my experience today. So I was setting up to doing this video today, and I had this problem the other day when I was building some stuff in my workbench over here. I heard that the computer was doing a lot of noise. There was a lot of noise going on and chewed on some cable inside of the computer. I believe that you might have heard that if you follow everything that I do, and that if you have seen one of my live streams, it actually chewed on that cable too. So I decided to go in and do something about this. And inside of the computer, I moved all the cables around and fixed it up so everything was nice and tidy, and hopefully none of the fans will eat any cables anytime soon. And to do that, I had to pull everything out of the computer on the back side of the computer. And today I plugged everything in, and getting things to work after you have unplugged it should usually just be you put the things back in. And then Windows will do some magic work and figure out where everything should be. And if you have a lot of USBs that I do, it will probably figure which things you have put into which USB port and handle that. And it actually did a fairly good job there. But the thing that is most analog in my computer, or in any computer for that matter, is audio. You put the analog jack in and it should just work. So I put it in and I got no sound at all. Okay, that's strange. And I have this Realtek HD audio jinglebobs, some control center that you can open up and see what actually you plugged in the port, and then do some strange configuration. Is this a headset, a head plug, ear plug, or some speaker? I don't know why you wanted to actually tell this digital software what you plugged in. What does it matter? I guess the audio profile will be a little bit different, but still, in any case, I plugged it into all the different jacks, and each of them told me different things. I figured out where the mic should go if I ever get one, and then I found which one was the digital output, and finally I figured out that the first one I put it in was the correct one that I should use, and that I wasn't crazy, and that I didn't do it wrong. I didn't put it into the wrong port. So then I tried to pull it out and put it into those ports that you have in the front of the computer. And for any reason that I don't know why, those didn't work at all either. So I got a lot frustrated. This should just work. I have a fully working computer except for an analog audio jack that should just work. So I did some more meddling back and forth, and as it is Windows, I restarted the system. Nothing changed. And after about half an hour or something, I figured, well, I've got to search for this. So I did a Google search, and after reading a few forums, I found this thread where somebody said, if you have unplugged all your things or unplugged your audio jack and then plugged it in, your Windows might update your drivers. And if they do that on a Windows 10 system, I'm not using a Windows 10 system, I'm using a Windows 7 system, but if they do that, make sure that you roll back those drivers, because those are totally broken. Okay, that sounds crazy, but at that point I was not really giving much. I didn't really care that much because I had tried everything that I could think of. So I went into the system settings, rolled back those drivers, and pop, the sound started to work. Of course, that was the problem. So this was just my rant saying that, well, the least obvious solution to a very simple problem could be just that somebody built some drivers that don't really work. And I really hope that somewhere down the line somebody is gonna change these drivers with something that works, so that future updates of your system will not break some very basic functionality. If you have watched this video this far, please leave a comment and say, well, I get frustrated too, or something like that. I would really want to know if anybody wanted to listen to my rant. Yeah, I hope that you have a very good day, and I see you in the next video.